If you've never been in a high altitude mountain expedition before, then this video is for you. I'm Graham, I'm one of the founders of Vertical Sky, and we specialise in climbing Kilimanjaro. This video is all to do about what to take on the mountain, what you need to pack, and what's the most important things you need to put in your bag. The only thing I'm leaving out of this video is the sleeping bags. Everything else is covered. We'll cover the sleeping bags on another video. Now, what we're going to do is going to work through each piece of clothing that you're going to take onto the mountain, also the goodies that you need to take, and the extra bits as well to make life good and easy for you. So let's start with something really simple. We're going to start from the inside and out, from the bottom up. So what we recommend at Vertical Sky is we recommend merino wool socks, quite simply because they wick away the sweat, they take away the smell, they keep your feet really nice and warm and also quite dry. They're just really good, comfortable socks. You'll spend good money on these, but they're well worth it. Now, the amount of socks you need to take is the amount of days you need to be on the mountain. I'd take an extra couple of fluffy pairs as well for nighttime when you're tucked up in your sleeping bag. That makes perfect sense. Next up, underwear. What we need to make sure is that we've got enough clean underwear for every day on the mountain and a couple of extras. And that's not for mistakes and mishaps, it's just for the fact that when you get back to the camp of an evening and you've been hiking all day, you might want to have a wash, just get into some nice clean underwear and feel a little bit more human, okay? Next up, in the lower part of the slopes, what we tend to recommend is taking some shorts. On the hot days when you want to start climbing, it's nice to have a nice pair of shorts on. It can be quite humid and very hot, so shorts are a great thing to have. You don't need to pack 7 pairs of these because you are not going to be wearing them every day. Once you get in that forest and you get into the higher camps, you're definitely going to be wearing long trousers. So these are kind of a little bit of a necessity at the bottom, but not a necessity all the way up. After that, when you start getting into the cooler bits, we need to start making sure that your body's warm. And we start by doing that by using multiple layers. Now, the lowest layer that we use would be one of these merino wool. They're like a long john material, nice and soft. You wear these all day on the top and also on the bottom. They're a must have because your trousers are great, your jackets are great and everything else, but this being close to your skin, wicking away the sweat and also keeping that nice warmth on your body. That's perfect. I run hot generally, so I only take 1 pair of these up the mountain, but I recommend if you are somebody that suffers from the cold, I'd take a couple of pairs up at least. If the merino wool, they'll dry out. You can wear one day, wear a new pair and go back to the first one the following day. I know that sounds a bit stinky, but everyone stinks on the mountains. Don't worry about it, okay? Then what we have is we move on to your hiking trousers. You can spend fortunes on hiking trousers or you can get some really cheap and good pairs from the hiking and camping shops. We recommend decent pairs of semi-waterproof trousers, and when I mean semi-waterproof trousers, they're water resistant. So if you do get a shower in the day and you don't want to get all your waterproofs out your backpack, these work perfectly. Ideally, nice and fleece lined around the belt just for comfort, something that's easy and quick to fasten. You don't really want separate belts that are cumbersome and fiddly to be doing up, especially if you've got gloves on, if you need to use the bathroom and whatnot. These are quite hard wearing, super comfortable. Do make sure when you're buying them, you do try them out, that you get them on and you wear them before you actually go on the hike, because you don't want to be uncomfortable, certainly not around your waist and around your backside and stuff. It needs to be comfortable clothes. You're in these for a long time, every single day. You're doing a lot of miles. Comfort is king. Now, I always take a couple of pairs of these. I think on a normal hike, on an 8-day hike, I'd take 3 pairs, okay? Because I want a clean pair for summit night, and the other pairs I'll just flip between the days on the way up, all right? But again, multiple pairs, nice and comfortable. Make sure that they fit you well and you're happy with them, all right? What we'll do at the end of this video is we'll make sure we put everything in the bag. We'll show you how to pack everything into the bag, and then you can understand how it all fits, because this looks like a lot of stuff so far. It's a big bag, you're not carrying it, one of your porters will. So we'll do a video in a second about how to pack the big bag ready for the porters, and we'll do a separate video about packing your day pack and what you're gonna need in there. But this is everything that you're gonna need. So after we've got your long johns and your trousers and your undergarments and everything, we need to focus on what's going to go on our bodies up here. Now, you lose most of your heat through your extremities, through your head and your arms and so on and so forth. If you keep your body warm, then that tends to feed the heat around your body. So what we want to do is make sure that's protected. So ideally, what we want is some of these base layers. Now, these go over your long johns. Ideally, a t-shirt first, something like this. Now, this is a sports t-shirt, which has got a wick away material. So again, when you're sweaty, it pulls the sweat away from your skin. If the water is on your body, you will get cold and you will stay cold, and it's terrible. It's not nice at all. This brings it away from your body and makes you far more comfortable. And the nice thing is, because they're quite thin, you can layer and layer and layer, and then you can just strip them off as you get warm throughout the day. So normal t-shirts are great for that. And then these covered t-shirts just make life so much easier because you go through the different climates. Now, North Face do this fab one, which has got a hood on it, and it's also long sleeves, okay? A couple of things about this that are quite special. Obviously the hood, nice thing about the hood is it's gonna protect your neck. Some of the days it does get extremely hot because you're at higher altitude. I like to say it's because you're closer to the sun. I don't know whether that's the science in it at all. But the nice thing is this protects you, so it stops you from getting burnt. It's nice and lightweight, covers your arms up. These have got those natty little thumb thingies. I don't like wearing those, but I've got a little bit long arms, so they don't really work for me. This one's a zip up one, so you can just release a little bit of heat if you get a little bit too hot when you're at the top. Nice little addition. All the major manufacturers do these, so don't just think it's North Face. I know Columbia do a fantastic one, Mammoth do good ones, Rab do some fantastic ones. There's something for everybody's budget from so many different brands. Now, the amount of t-shirts that you need to bring, to be honest, these are really light. These are really light, they pack small, so you can bring plenty of them. On a 7 or 8 day hike, I'd probably be looking at bringing 10 to 12 of these type of t-shirts, be it long sleeve and short. Yes, you are gonna have to double up on them some days, but what I tend to do is rotate the ones I'm wearing. So once it's been next to my skin, at the end of the day, that goes into my wash bag, it's not worn again, and then the other ones I'll use and rotate. Again, don't worry about being smelly on the mountain. We give you plenty of provisions to get clean of it evening. That's not a problem. Everybody's in the same boat. There's no 5-star on the mountain that's got all of your amenities and showers and so on and so forth. We're all in the same boat. Now let's look at some of the stuff that's going to keep you really warm on the mountain. These are your 3 biggest things just here. What we've got is we've got a fleece. These are great for a couple of reasons. As a base layer above your t-shirts and your long sleeve stuff, these are just that extra little bit of warmth that you want on the cold days. These are fantastic. It's like a coat, but it's not as thick as wearing your puffer jacket or your raincoat on top. These are just gonna keep you nice and snug. Around camp of an evening, these are just nice to put on when you've been wearing your puffer and your raincoat all day. There's loads of different brands that do these. What you wanna be checking for is that they're nice and thick, they're comfortable, that the stitching's good. And most importantly, what I'd always do when I'm in the shop is I'll be checking the zip, okay? Simply for the reason that when you're on the mountain, your hands are cold. This needs to be super simple. You don't want to be in a position where that doesn't do that first time, every time. If it's fiddly or the zip tie is too small, you've got to think if you've got gloves on. If it's really cold, you don't want to be taking your gloves off just to undo your zip. You want a nice long toggle that you can pull down and you can get your jackets on or off and done back up. Above that layer comes your puffer jacket. Now these puffer jackets, they come in all shapes and sizes. If you walked into a shop and said, can I have a puffer jacket? You might come out with one that's like a super puffer jacket and you're the size of a house. That's not the type of one that you want because you need to be able to get other layers over the top. These basically block all of the heat leaving your body, okay? They come in 2 types. You can get a duck down type or you can get a synthetic type. Down is fantastic. It's a beautiful material. It will keep you so warm, it's not funny. Now on the market, the synthetic versions are probably just as good, if not better than some of the down ones. The advantages to a synthetic one is that when you get wet, if you get caught in a storm and you're not quick enough to get your raincoat out and your jacket gets wet, you need something that's going to get dry quickly. It won't get dry while you're hiking, but it will get dry when you're back at camp. If you're like me, I'm a little bit overweight. I'm a bit too fat for this climbing lark, but I love it. But the problem is I run hot when I'm hiking, so I do sweat. Okay, and when I sweat, my clothes do get wet, and these need to be dried. So synthetic for me is the best one. It might be for you that you just want that nice comfort of the down. Back onto the jacket. This particular jacket ticks all the boxes. I'll start at the top. We've got a nice hood with a small elasticated headspace there, so it wraps around your face. It's going to keep you warm and keep your ears warm, going to keep that heat trapped in your head. On the pockets, we've got nice, deep, good pockets with long toggles. Again, you don't want to be taking your gloves off to get things into your pockets. And on the bottom, this one's elasticated. I prefer the elasticated ones. Some people prefer the ones with toggles because you can pull them as tight as you want. I don't tend to need to worry about the toggles because I've got a big enough waist, and the elasticated ones suit me a little bit better, all right? Don't skimp on these. Again, all brands do them. Ideally, get into a shop, try them on, see how comfortable they are. Make sure they fit properly, especially around the shoulders. You don't want any restriction when you're climbing the mountain. The outer layer. Now, this jacket is something that's been with me for time immemorial. It's a bit of an old faithful. It's probably due for the bin. It's been up the mountain many times. It's a good waterproof jacket. Now, when you're looking for waterproof jackets, what you need to make sure is that they are genuinely waterproof. Now, unfortunately, to get those categories of really good waterproof clothing, it's going to change the value of what you spend on the jacket. As a bare minimum, I'd always make sure that the jacket you have is a Gore-Tex fibered jacket. Reason being is we want to make sure that water is guaranteed not to get inside the jacket itself. What's something I really concentrate and look for is also the seams on the jacket. You don't want too many stitched areas. That's why this jacket's particularly good, because there's no stitching on any of the midriff and the lower level. There's one stitch line up here, and I know that that's double seamed on the inside. So I know this jacket, I've worn this jacket a million times. It's got great waterproof capabilities. Its downside is it's getting a bit old, so it's time for an upgrade coming soon. On to the next things that you need to look for. This one's really cool because in reality, when you're at the higher parts of the mountain and it's cold or it's wet, the likelihood is that you're gonna have your bigger gloves on, your big thick gloves on your hands. As I've just said multiple times with other garments, you don't wanna be taking your gloves off all the time to be putting your hands in your pockets. What you wanna be able to do is have a jacket that's got a good toggle on it. This one's probably a little bit short and maybe a little bit too thin, but what's really cool about this one is it's got a deep insert, so I'm not gonna squeeze my hand into a tiny hole with a great big glove on. I've got a nice big hole to be able to put my hand through. Something I think is super important as well, when you're wet and cold, a way to keep that heat inside your body is to make sure that your wrists have got nice tight grips on them. This particular one has got the nice Velcro finishes, so you can nice tightly wrap that around your wrist and wrap it around your glove if needs be, to make sure that heat is kept inside. Now onto the hood. This is really cool because it's got, again, the small hole, which means that it's nice and tight around your face. It also has this lip, which is quite rigid, and it's got like a hard bar inside of it. What this is really good for is just you can shape it when you're wearing it to where it is a bit of a peak for a cap. Now what's great about that is if it is raining really hard, you don't want the rain coming into your face. If it's peaked, you can make sure it falls off to either side so you can keep your clear vision. When you're climbing something like Barranco Wall, you need to have your wits about you. You need to be able to see what's going on. You don't want the rain dripping into your face because that could mean the difference of slipping and something like that. And what we want to make sure is that you're super safe. So something like that is ideal. The downside with this one is on the back of the hood, it's missing a toggle. It's not missing because it's fallen off, it's missing because they've never designed one into this jacket. Now, what a lot of the companies now do is they have a toggle that runs from the middle of the hood down to around the neckline, and it means you can pull the hood taut, which then means that the lip can be pulled back or lowered down. So again, depending on what type of weather it is, if it's really, really heavy and you want it nice and low so it just comes off your face, awesome. But if it's just a light shower and you want to pull it back, or you're constantly looking up, you don't want to be looking up through the lid and have to lift your jacket all the time, so you can adjust it through one of those toggles. Maybe on another video, we'll show you a jacket that's got one of those. The outer layer that's covered, now we've got to looking at your extremities. So let's look at gloves first and foremost. If you've got cold hands, it's always going to be a problem because they start to hurt, and that's where your focus needs to be. And what you want to make sure is that you're always happy on the mountain. And being warm and comfortable and dry is a massive step towards that happiness. Especially when you're looking up the mountain, you can see the snowy peak. It's still 30, maybe 40 Ks away that you've got to climb. You do not want to be feeling any pain or discomfort earlier on. So we've got to protect things, certainly like your head, your face, and also your hands. So what we've got here is, we've got some things that will keep you that little bit warmer. I always like to use, now these aren't my gloves. You'll probably see from the size of them, okay? These are glove liners. They don't tend to come with the big gloves. You have to buy them separately. You can get merino wool ones, they're really cool. A lot of the big brands also do more technical glove liners, which are a little bit more padded on the inside, so you can wear them day to day. Again, great for doing things like Barranco Wall, because you need your grip, you need to keep your hands nice and warm, but the big gloves might just be too much, so you need a bit more of a technical glove. What these are really good for is they just extra trap in that layer of air between your skin and the outer glove, which then means that you just get that extra little bit of warmth. Inside your gloves, your hands feel nice and snug, and then you feel nice and warm, which is great. If you don't have the liner, what you tend to find is that the tips of your fingers will still get cold, and that's not what you want. Again, you don't want any discomfort on the mountain, so you need to make sure that you're comfortable. So I'd always recommend liner gloves. Technical ones are better if possible. They are slightly thicker. So if you do go for the technical ones, make sure that you get a slightly bigger sized glove. Otherwise, you don't want to be trying to ram it into the glove all the time, because again, it's discomfort. You've got your backpack on, you've got your jackets, it's all heavy. Nah, forget it. Make sure that when you go into the shop, you try these on when you've already got these on. Don't worry then that if you put your hand inside this glove that it's flapping around. It's not a problem. The likelihood of you wearing these on their own is very slim, but it's very highly likely that you'll wear these first and then put them into the gloves. Again, brand-wise, these are a merino wool pair, so these are a decent price. You can get there. They range from probably 15 euros, 12 pounds, 60 dirhams up to whatever you want to spend on them. The technical gloves start that a little bit higher because they are that little bit more of a glove, okay, a day-to-day glove. You don't have to spend big money. As long as you've just got that extra layer to protect the air in your glove, that's fine. Okay, when it comes to the big gloves, sky's the limit. You can go crazy on these. We've used all sorts. We've used the North Face brands, Rab, we've used Scott, we've used Smith, which is the ski glove brand. Again, all fantastic, just all depends on what you want to spend. Make sure you try them on. Don't buy them online. Get yourself into a shop. Ski shops are great if you're going to buy this stuff in. If you're in Dubai, then obviously one of the big adventure HQs, they have a multiple choice. Then what we need to look at is keeping you that little bit more comfortable. These are what we call buffs, neck scarves. Again, this just keeps your extremities that little bit warmer. When you're all gloved up and so on and so forth, and the wind's blowing, you can just pull something like that up and just keep your face covered. Stops your lips from chapping. Just again, keeps you that little bit more comfortable and happy. Some people like a scarf. That one's a knitted version. That's a buff version, so it's got a fleece line that's knitted on the outside. This is a Columbia one that is also just pure fleece. I don't like the ones that don't stretch too much because I don't like my neck being restricted. It makes me feel uncomfortable. Some people don't mind it and they prefer something really snug and tight. Me, I prefer something nice and loose that I can get some air into. And then what we've got here, fiber version. Now these are quite cool because you can wear them all the time. They sit nicely on your neck. They're not too heavy. They're not too difficult. And you can also put them up over your head and create them a bit more of a snood, or even around on your chin, on your neck. Cover your ears up. That keeps all the neck and everything comfortable. Now, top of your head is where you lose the most amount of heat in your body. As you can see, I actually haven't got a lot of protection on the top of my head, so hats is definitely something that I'd recommend. Now, on a day-to-day on the lower summits, on the lower camps and stuff, you've always got to keep your head covered because the sun's so powerful in Tanzania, it's unbelievable. So what I tend to wear is on the lower parts of the mountain is either a cap, or I wear one of those type of safari loose floppy hats, not with corks around it. I don't need one of those, but I just need one of those sun hats. Protects my ears, protects my neck, and stops me from getting sunburn. If you get sunburn on the mountain, it's not like sunburn on the beach. It can be really serious. It can make you sick, it can make you lethargic, and it can give you headaches, and sometimes you can confuse it with altitude sickness when it's just a good dose of heat stroke and sunstroke. So protecting your head is absolutely key. I've done it both ways, done it properly, and I've had a really enjoyable trip. I've been burnt to a cinder. I've hated every minute of climbing. For higher up the mountain, then we go into the beanies. Now, this is a nice and thin one. I've got a bit of a big noggin, so I find it difficult to find a beanie that fits me properly, and I tend to look quite silly in them. You can wear all sorts, super thick, fleece lined. I like keeping it really simple and basic. The reason why I like keeping it simple and basic is because if it does rain and this gets wet, I don't want 3 or 4 layers that I've got to try and dry out. I want something really simple that can just be wrung out, hung up in the mess tent, even hang it up in the cook's tent so it can be nice and warm to get dry. But super important, your head is absolutely key. What else is going to go into your bag? Now, at camp, when you arrive at camp and you've finished for the day, you've gone and had washy-washy, you've had a cup of coffee, you're overlooking the vista, you may be enjoying the sunset, you want to use the bathroom and so on and so forth, you don't want to be getting your big boots back on. You don't want to be getting on your hiking trainers that you've had in the lower extremities that I'll talk to you about in a second. Okay, so what we tend to recommend is just a simple pair of sliders. Something really cool that you can wear. You put your socks in, no problem at all. Walk around the camp, keep your feet nice and clean. And then when you get into your tent at night, you're not dragging mud in everywhere or trying to undo a pair of bulky boots. So these are great to put inside your pack. Let's talk about shoes, all right? So inside your bag, I'd recommend taking, for the lower parts of the mountain, I'd recommend taking a pair of hiking trainers, okay? Now these are pretty cool. Nike do some really good ones, Adidas do some good, Solomon, so on and so forth. They've all got different pairs that they can do. Again, ranging in price. These are good because they're quite technical. They're quite grippy. These aren't Gore-Tex. The reason why I don't go for Gore-Tex on these is quite simply when it's super hot, these become like boats, okay? I don't want to be sweating in there and then be sweltering around because Gore-Tex doesn't let the water in or out. So having a normal pair of trainers is quite good. If you're going to climb in the rainy season, the likelihood is at the lower parts of the mountain, it's going to be wet too. If you did want to stick to a pair of hiking trainers on the lower parts of the mountain, then I would go for Gore-Tex. In the nice warm months where you're going to get less likelihood of rain, then a normal pair of hiking trainers is fantastic. However, when you go up the mountain that little bit further and it gets a bit more rocky, that's when we need to move into the hiking boot. Hiking boots is a personal thing, but it's a personal thing, it's a financial thing. You can spend a fortune on a really good pair of hiking boots. There are some brands out there that, you know, are advertised at the top of Everest, right? They're brilliant, they really are good. If you haven't got that type of budget, then there are lots of lower levels of boots, but it doesn't discount the quality. These guys do not make boots that they expect to fail. The difference is simply in the fact that they're not doing massive sponsorship deals with people to climb Everest and goodness knows what else. They just want to make good boots for good hikers and they want to put them out of volume, all right? Now, Saliwa is a brand that we use quite a bit. These are actually my wife's boots. They're super comfortable. I'd never take a pair out of the box and put them in my bag and go up the mountain. I'd at least try and do several hikes in them first. Go and test them out, kick them in, break them in, get comfortable with them. If you get blisters, work out what's giving you the blister. Have you got the wrong socks? Have you tied them up incorrectly? Are they the wrong size? You know, that's a really bad mistake to make, but if they are the wrong size, you don't want to find that out when you're 4,500 meters up a mountain and you're crying because it's raining and you've got blisters hanging off your feet and you can see the summit and you're not going to make it. This is a really simple one to solve. Good pairs of boots, they make all the difference. Now what we're going to get into is the nice nitty-gritty bits of what you got to take as well. So when you get to camp, you can tell I like my sweets. When you get to camp of an evening, you're going to be having a washy-washy. When you get up in the morning, you have a washy-washy as well. I know this sounds strange that I keep saying washy-washy, but when you're on the mountain, that's what the guides and the porters refer to it as. What happens is we have a wash tent where you can go inside, you've got some hot water, you've got some soap, you've got some shampoo, it's where you go and basically get all cleaned up for the day. You can have a full wash down, get away the sweat, and just make yourself feel a little bit human again. It wakes you back up and it probably makes you rest better of an evening as well. Now, what we recommend for you is we don't supply the towels because obviously people have their own preferences. So what we'd recommend is these microfiber towels. They fold up really super small, as you can see, and they're actually quite a really cool size. It's super thin, but it's super absorbent. So what that means is that when you've had a wash, it takes the water away quickly, but once you've hung that up inside your tent, within 20 to 30 minutes, that's going to be bone dry for you. And the nice thing is, because it's so thin, it's so easy just to fold up, and then they normally come inside a little packing zip-up pocket that you can zip away, and it goes inside your wash bag for later on in the day or the following morning. Now, I'm just going to jump back to one more thing. Here, what we've got is the poncho. Ponchos are fantastic because when you're on the mountain and you've got all your gear on, and maybe a waterproof jacket, but it is torrential, it is coming down. You just don't want everything to get wet, your bag and everything. So what we recommend is, these are super cool. They cost very little money, and what it allows you to do is just get inside of it. They're so big, they're like a walking human tent, and that's it. Your backpack is underneath, you're covered, your head's covered, everything's covered. You can put your arms inside of it. You can stand here and just, the rain can just come and come and come and you don't care less. Now, there's another reason why I like a poncho. Not for the men, for the women. I've climbed Kilimanjaro many times with my wife, also my daughter. My daughter's now 11, the first time she climbed when she just turned 10. Sometimes on the mountain, you'll get caught short with a bathroom. And we have obviously the toilets in camp that we provide that are of a really high quality in their own tent and they're super comfortable. However, between camps, we don't set up those toilets. None of the companies on the mountain do because you have to get rid of the mess as well. So what we do is between camps, you obviously have to do a little bit of self-timing. Now, occasionally you'll get caught short, and certainly as a female, sometimes there's areas that's completely open, only a small amount of rocks around. If you do want that little bit of privacy, put your poncho on, do what you need to do. It's a nice little touch. It helps. Again, these fold down super small. They're not an essential. I think they're nice to have. These tend to go in my day pack as opposed to my big bag. They're no good to you in the big bag because you don't know when it's going to rain. So in your day pack, these are awesome. What I also would expect everybody to come onto the mountain with is a few things that we've got inside this bag. When you're down in the jungle, in the lower levels, in the forestry bit, can be some mosquitoes, depends on the time of year. Also depends on whether it's nighttime, whether you're near the water, so on and so forth. So mosquito spray, mosquito repellent is kind of a must. You don't need to go mad. You don't need to cover yourself in it. It's just a nice to have when you're having dinner. Make sure your ankles, your wrists, around your ears have got some on. You tend to be quite covered anyway, but that's a great thing to have. Also like a mozzie bite, one of those pens. So when you've had a bite, you can just rub it on. A couple of seconds later, the itching's gone. But you don't want to be uncomfortable in your tent. When you're inside your sleeping bag and you're all warm of an evening, the last thing you want to be doing is trying to scratch the back of your ankle that's all the way down the bottom of the sleeping bag. So anything you can do to prevent it is better. A small washing shampoo, body wash. Don't want to go too mad because you've not got loads of water, so a little bit for a freshen up is perfect. Lip balm, absolutely essential, because that's going to make sure that it protects your lips. When you've been climbing it a long time, you forget with a little pencil, you just go straight for the Vaseline, just layer it on, make sure it's all covered up, because these do crack. It's because it's dry, you're high up, the altitude, your moisture comes away from your face quite easily, and obviously we've got to make sure that you're protected as best we can. And also the drugs bag and the plasters bag. Now, we've got some other videos that you can watch about which drugs to take, but make sure you bring your personal medication, anything you have to take generally anyway. You still need to take it on the mountain, and you also have some preparedness for if you get any altitude sickness, headache pills, Diamox, so on and so forth. And what we'd also recommend is also taking some plasters on the mountain. We've obviously carried first aid kits throughout, but these are great when it comes to if you are getting that little blister, maybe after 6 or 7 days, maybe your socks are a little bit too wet, maybe you haven't bought enough, maybe something's a bit smaller than you thought it was and it's rubbing, have some plasters just in case. Like I say, you don't need a major first aid kit because we carry everything on the mountain. Now, the other thing that I've not got on this table, suntan lotion. I'd really load up the suntan lotion. I'd go at least factor 30 to factor 50, maybe even a zinc stick. My daughter loves a zinc stick, so she makes it look like, I don't know. But what we do is we make sure that we go around our ears, around our neck, shoulders, forehead, under here, and definitely on my nose. My nose really struggles, and I get a new nose when I come down from the mountain because the old nose just burns off. So I need to make sure that I'm fully covered. It doesn't even matter whether it's the rainy season or the summer months, just make sure you cover up, because you do not want to be uncomfortable higher up when you've got a sunburn. Can't stress it enough. Now, one thing that you're definitely going to need on the mountain is one of these. Now, this is a head torch. I wouldn't go for a USB recharging head torch, quite simply for the fact that you've got nowhere to charge it on the mountain. Otherwise, you've got to carry your battery pack. You carry your battery pack, it's more weight and that's more for your phone. One of these is fantastic with the batteries in. You can bring some spares, it's no problem. Likely it is, we'll also have spares as well, so that's cool. Now, water bottles, 2 types, super simple. You want something that's easy to carry, fits in the side pocket of your rucksacks. Okay, this one's got a pipe down the middle of it, so you don't have to throw it up. You can just walk along and suck on it, and it's super easy. They don't need to be complicated. You can buy them super cheap, or you can go really expensive. It's your call, but it's just a water bottle. However, on summit night, it is common that your water will freeze inside of your bag. Okay, so you need to make sure that you've got some way around that. Now, that's whether it's an insulated pipe on your camel pack that goes inside of your rucksack, or you go for an insulated water bottle like this. It's not guaranteed that it's going to stop the freezing, but it might mean that it's got to drop that little bit lower in temperature to stop it from freezing inside your bag. Now, sweets and treats. I'm just going to point this out. We're going to do a video differently on this in a second. We really cover off these treats. But on the mountain, we will feed you your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner. And between those points, we also have coffee stops, where at those places, there'll be some fruit, there'll be some nuts, there'll be some nice treats for you, some dates and so on and so forth, just to keep that energy up. But when you're away from home and you've been walking for a long time and you're tired, sometimes you just need that little energy pick-me-up. And that's what we'd recommend that you take with you in your day pack as well. You don't need to go crazy. We've got some recommendations and we'll cover it on another video shortly, but you do need to take some bits and bobs. Now, that is pretty much everything that you're going to need inside your bag. If you've got all that stuff, or you need any assistance in making or double checking what you want to take, please reach out and contact us. We're here to help. We just want as many people to climb the mountain as possible and fulfill any dreams that you may have. But more importantly, what we want people to do is get on the mountain so as we can help as many porters and guides as we can in making sure that they've got employment and they've got a good, fair wage. Climbing with vertical sky is something that we really want you to do, obviously, but we're here to help anybody. That's just what we want to do, and we want to make sure everybody has a good time on the mountain. Okay, take care, and I'll speak to you soon.